Hi, everyone. My name is Cristina Tzintzún Ramirez, and I'm the president of NextGen America, the country's largest youth voting rights organization. And last election, we helped mobilize millions of young people with our partners across the country, helping lead to one of the largest youth voter turnouts in American history. And tonight, we got to hear from the president about some of the top issues that matter to young people. We know that young people inherit the worst and the best of inaction or action by our legislators, and that we face real problems, that young people are the first generation in American history to be worse off than our parents. We know that we face simultaneous crises, a crisis of income inequality, where the top 1% now has 15 times more wealth than the entire working and middle class. And many young people wonder how they're ever going to be able to afford a home or feel burdened and drowned by student debt. And of course, we face a climate crisis that will displace millions and millions of people if we don't respond and act now. And we've seen a rollback and a fundamental assault and attack on our rights to decide what happens with our own body and health, with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, an assault that happened over 50 years to erode these basic rights. But we also know that young people have tremendous power. And that's what we heard from the Biden administration tonight. You know, I'm old enough to remember the Democratic Party of the 90s. And tonight, I felt incredibly proud of not only President Biden, but how far Democrats have come, in large part due to the power of young people. Tonight, we heard Biden say a billionaire shouldn't pay a lower rate in taxes than a teacher or firefighter. He talked about cutting credit card fees, tackling big pharma, lowering the cost of airlines, of shipping, and building an economy for everyone. We know that our economy is strong when we don't just judge it by how well big corporations are doing, but by how well ordinary people are doing. Tonight, we heard about raising the minimum wage, not just for a small amount, but making it into a living wage. We heard about protecting the rights of unions and working people in our country. We talked about taxing the rich their fair share and universal child care. We know that the GOP has no plan for our economy. Their plan is to lift taxes on the rich and make sure that we all have to pay for it. We also heard about healthcare. So I was also really proud and glad to hear talking about capping the price of insulin. My mom is one of millions of diabetics across the country. I'm sure we all know someone that has diabetes. And I can tell you over the years, my mom has had diabetes for 30 years. There have been many times when she hasn't been able to afford her own medication. She's either had to cut her pills in half or go without the medication she needs, life-saving basic medication that in other countries doesn't cost a fortune. But in this country, it does. It costs a fortune because big pharmaceutical companies refuse to actually charge people what they should be. And that's why we need government to step in and make sure big pharmaceutical companies aren't going to rip off millions of Americans and charge them obscene prices for basic things like insulins. That's what government can do for us. We also heard about the student debt crisis, and that the Biden administration, yes, canceled big portions of student debt and is lowering the cost of what it costs to pay back your loans. But of course, Republicans are blocking progress on this critical issue. And they even say things like we should raise the voting age after this last election because too many young people can't decide what's in their best interest. We know what's in our best interest. And it's basic fundamentals of democracy. We elected Joe Biden to deliver on his promises to cut student debt, and he did. And we got to hear about tackling the climate crisis. We know that this is the biggest challenge, not just our generation, but our planet and all future generations face. And the Biden administration passed the largest ever single climate bill, not just in this country, but in the world, the largest single investment by any country on the planet to tackle the climate crisis. They're going to build 500,000 electric charging stations. They're going to enhance and invest in solar panels and clean energy for all of our homes and get us to have save also what it costs to run the electricity in our homes and make sure it's cleaner. And on top of that, all of those jobs that they're going to be creating, they're going to make sure that they are good union paying jobs. That's a huge thing that back in the day in the Democratic Party of the 90s, it was sometimes hard to tell the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. Not today. If you care about women's rights, there's only one party that stands for women's rights. If you care about building an economy for everyone and unions and raising the minimum wage to a living wage, there's only one party that stands for working people. If you care about healthcare and making sure that every single American can go to the doctor when they're sick, there's only one party that stands for healthcare for every single American. If you believe in the rights of the LGBTQ community, there is only one party that truly stands up for the rights of the LGBTQ community. And if you believe in tackling the climate crisis, there seems to be only one party that even believes in basic science around the climate crisis. We're really proud that NextGen America, along with partners from March for Our Lives, the Sunrise Movement, Color of Change, and many, many others, have been pushing and moving and organizing young people by the millions. These progressive wins wouldn't happen without young people winning. And that's why we've come together and asked the Biden administration and this Congress to enact an agenda for young people. You can find out more about the youth agenda at our website and join us and all of these other organizations at nextgenamerica.org. We know that the arch of history is long. And yes, it bends towards justice. But we also know that we have to be the ones to bend it. And that's what we're doing with the full weight and power of the largest, the most diverse, and the most progressive generation voting bloc in American history. We don't put our hope in any one single politician or party. We put our hope in America's young people. We put our hope in you. So join us in this movement. Find out more about how you can get involved, because we're just getting started.